What's up, Blueprint family? We are here live tonight. Thank you all for joining us. And we have a wonderful show for you all this evening.
It's Marriage Fit Friday.
It is. Today is Friday, and it is Marriage Fit Friday. Each and every Friday, we want you to call in and tell us why you are marriage fit, on what you did to become marriage fit.
Link is in the description of the YouTube video description. Yep. And then you also, for our live Instagram live people, request to join live so that you can come and join the conversation through Instagram.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, well, since of course we haven't had our callers yet, they will be coming. But for now, we're just going to continue with some great topics.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. See, being marriage fit is all about self-reflection and also to self-reflection is also an essential tool for growth. So the idea here is to just like we reflect on our jobs, on ourselves, I think that is important in order to be marriage fit is to reflect on your relationships with your spouse. Sometimes with your spouse, or either just with yourself, and reflect on areas of improvement, and then also to areas of fulfillment, pleasure, excitement, things that makes us happy to be in the relationships that we are in, and then also to the opposite of that, the areas where we can improve, areas to where we find the most difficulties in, whether that's communication, emotional support, or just support in general. Those are things that we need to talk about. So we are here to help you talk about these difficult situations in your life, and then also to just share the joys. If there's no one that you want to that you have within arm's reach to speak with, we are here for you. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right on in, I guess.
Yeah.
So today's topic every Friday is marriage fit. So like I said, we're giving you these opportunities and we want to hear about them. I don't think that there's enough dialogue on the internet, on YouTube, that expresses the formula of what help marriages survive, what is the introduction into marriages for younger folk, or either older folk, or people who've been divorced multiple times, getting into new relationships. I think there's talking and having dialogues is a great way to, I guess, develop good character, good habits, and good, good strategies on ways you can maintain and improve relationships. Ultimately, for real, to be honest with you, these are things that you could take it to any and all relationships, whether they're work relationships, friendships, or either with your children. So these are things that are all around ways that you can improve your life on a daily basis. But the main focus is marriages, because those strengthen families, strengthen communities, and ultimately strengthen our nation and the world. So if if you feel compelled to, then please call in.
Yeah, we would like to hear. It's like you were saying, I think it also helps to hear from somebody else's experience, because you kind of gain wisdom of like what not to do and what to do.
Right.
Jim Rohn says, if you study successful people, you will become successful. And do what they do, you will become successful.
Right.
But if you study unsuccessful people and avoid what they did, you sure will not be a failure. So
right.
That's definitely a great principle to apply in all your aspects of relationships, like my husband mentioned.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we learn from examples.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we read the statistics many times. A lot of children growing up today don't have great examples of marriage or relationships. So our goal here is to let everyone know that there is a great example of marriage and relationships, and we want to hear about you all's successes as far as your relationships and your marriage goes.
Yeah.
So we want to be a living testament for the world,
Yeah.
for our community, and then also to let everyone know too that marriage is not all doom and gloom. It is a way that um, it is a tool that can make individuals better people,
Mm-hmm.
and then also too the idea of reflecting on your relationship helps you to stay together as well. So that's one of the things we're trying to do here. I hear, we hear this, all the time, especially about modern women and relationships being overbearing and things like that. Hopefully, there's a time for those people to reflect on themselves, on the message that we're delivering, and to let you know that you don't have to be this way. So with that being said,
Yeah.
it's important. Maturity is important. So we want to talk about the topic of maturity.
Yeah, because you have to be mature in order to have a successful marriage, what I feel like. But in a lot of aspects of life in general, it's better to be mature so that you can cope and better strategize, like you were saying, and analyze and understand situations and problems and better conflict resolve.
Right.
So maturity is definitely a big aspect of marriage, a successful marriage.
Right. And when you think of maturity, you think of younger people and growing up to be better people.
Mm-hmm.
You mature, and the unfortunate side of things is that a lot of people get married and aren't marriage fit, meaning that they're not mature yet for marriages, and we believe that sometimes that is a deciding factor on whether people make it or not in their relationship. So that could be one of the reasons why relationships fail, is because the maturity level of both parties is not up to par with what it really takes to manage a relationship or marriage
and sustain it for a lifetime.
Right.
Because that's a long time. So it's a constant need to grow and work through problems and communicate and live harmoniously together in order for it to be a harmonious marriage. Because
Right.
of course there are some people who stay married and are miserable, but that's not you're not doing your marriage any justice if you're not happy. So
Right.
yeah.
I mean, that's a way to reflect too. I mean, if you're miserable in your relationship, then there's communication that needs to go on here. This is 2023. This isn't 1923.
Right.
So relationships have evolved and the respect level has changed dealing with these with marriages that we are in today. And we feel as if especially the respect levels can be elevated. And there's much need of elevation in marriages today, and people who are wanting to get into relationships today. So let's reflect on the subtopic of maturity. So maturity sets the stage for better communication, allows for an openness to the other person's perspective. This allows for conflicts to be more respectfully understood and resolved, just like my wife said.
Yeah, and it's because maturity affects the emotional control and reasoning, which is huge when it comes to being able to navigate through difficult times in particular. Because if you emotionally can't handle yourself, then you can make a situation bigger than what it really needs to be. Right. Or even not even be able to move past the situation. So maturity offers you the ability to effectively work towards a common goal, which is to find solutions within the problems that you have, whether that's directly within the marriage or just in life in general as you go through life with your spouse. So, yeah.
When you operate from a mature mindset, you are more focused on searching for solutions. Maturity helps one to own their contributions to their relationship, both the positive and the negative.
Yeah.
So being accountable.
Yeah.
Being accountable for the decisions that you make in your relationship. So one thing that I think of is cheating or infidelities in relationship. That is an act There's multiple reasons why people cheat, to be honest with you, but a higher maturity level will actually get you involved in dialogue as instead of reacting on
Mm-hmm.
situations, which causes you people to cheat.
Right.
Both men and women, both cheat in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
um,
maturity though plays a huge part in that, because
right.
at some point you should be able to control your urges to where you don't need to act out on them when you're in public with the opposite sex. So,
Right.
yeah,
I mean, you think of infidelities, people cheat because they're not getting sex at home.
yeah,
Um, that's one reason why they're upset with their spouse.
mm-hmm.
Um, they get into marriages and it's not what they thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But you're in that marriage now, so you got to make it work.
Right.
It's all about making the marriage work. Yesterday we did the personality traits. That was probably some of the information that a lot of people probably wish they knew before they got into marriages. Now you're in the marriage. Now you need to reflect and try to build on your marriage. And reflecting, dialogue, and communication is a great way to carry your marriage forward.
Yeah.
If you're in a difficult spot.
And even before marriage, in particular for our single people, like, it's really important for you to develop your own maturity so that you're able to go into a relationship um, equipped with the understanding of who the person is that you went in the relationship with, and also how you can better navigate the relationship together because you have a better understanding of them and yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, maturity offers mature relationships offer a space for individuals to be vulnerable and share ideas and feelings rather than seeking to dominate one another. And that's big when it comes to just in general communicating, making sure that you can be on one accord and not have so much of a need to trample on top of each other, one up on each other. It kind of goes back to like the competition thing too, like competing for the dialogue or to win the conversation or even the conflict, whatever it is, just trying not to focus so much on being the one on top and dominating. That's a big one. Yeah. And
Right.
women, and like we saw, women and men can do that, especially like we saw with the alpha males and alpha females. Like, they're both very dominant people. So if you come across an alpha female or alpha male, it's important that they take the time to gain the maturity to not try to dominate their spouse.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And then also the sigmas, the sigma personality types too. That's something that they have to be aware of too, is making sure that they're not dominating their relationship, even though they are master
manipulators.
Not master manipulators, but master persuaders.
Yeah.
Manipulating is different than persuading somebody. Because manipulating, you're tricking somebody into doing something. When you persuade, you talk, you communicate and negotiate.
Probably intentions play a huge part in that. Like, if you're intending to, do whatever.
Right. Mature people love their spouse unconditionally and do not stay focused on resentments or imperfections. That goes to that old saying where those old folks say, don't go to bed mad or at your spouse, So you always, you're in a marriage for the long haul. So unconditional love by far is the fuel that runs the relationship, and harboring resentment is a bad way of communication. So it's men, women, you all need to communicate in your relationship so that you all have a better understanding of your feelings. Stop holding things in. Go ahead and let each other express how you all feel. It's best to do that without yelling and shouting, because we don't hear through yelling and shouting. We get defensive and offensive and offended when people yell and shout at you. That's the number one thing. So you get into this shouting match, and it's no longer about trying to resolve an argument. It's more so now, and then it becomes a competitive sport, and who can shout the longest and have the last word, which is toxic. That's not a way to. It's not a good way to express yourself. And maturity allows you to talk things out and not yell at each other.
Yeah, not focus on the problem, but more so trying to figure out, okay, how can we resolve?
Right. Focus on resolving the relationship as opposed to Yeah, you can express how you feel. The first part is expressing how you feel in a argument, how someone said something that made you feel bad, and then find ways to resolve it. Both parties have to look to resolve, not just leaving one person hanging, because you can't resolve with just one person in the relationship, because often at times that creates loneliness, feelings of loneliness. The other person is holding things in, and then the other person feels lonely. So those are red flags in the relationships and bad forms of communication, and that shows signs of immaturity in your relationship. So try to maintain a cooler head. If you need space, then come back and then talk about it, and then apologize to each other, and then move on, because this is the person you have to wake up with in the morning. So maturity plays a part as far as not staying focused on resentments and holding in, um, harboring feelings, negative feelings towards your spouse.
Yep. And it also helps you just stick it out
Mm-hmm.
in the end, really, and the focus on the end goal, sticking it out and, really going through and doing the hard work that it takes. Yeah.
Right, most definitely.
Yeah.
Tonight we want to explore with you 10 ways to become more mature and responsible in your relationship.
Yeah.
These can be for all types of relationships, to be honest with you. But since we're on the topic of marriages, and this is Marriage Fit Friday, we want you to reflect on these top 10s or 10 ways and how these are applied in your life. And if they're not, figure out ways that you can incorporate them into your life. So
you can become more mature,
right,
and actually fit for marriage, and
right,
mature and responsible for marriage, especially if you're not married yet, to singles, to get ready for that.
Right. These are good for people who are wanting to date with intention. These are good goals or ways to shift your mindset from being, a player, someone who wants to, be out in the field and gather all the attention that they possibly can and see how many women they can sleep with. And it's vice versa, even with females out here. I hear it's bad out there. A lot of women are no longer, waiting until marriage. So it is a thing that, maturity level. Check yourself, because it is important that we make good decisions. Risk management. I always speak about risk management. Stop sleeping around with all these people that you don't have any intention on being with or having children with. Risk management. So here we go.
Yep.
Number one. This is before I say that, this is good information for both married and single people, like my wife said. So number one, set goals. Set goals. If you don't know what you're aiming for in your relationship, then you all need to get together if you are with someone, and then to talk about what your goals are as far as marriage goes. My number one goal in marriage is the end goal, retirement. At me being the provider protector in my relationship, I have to figure out ways in which we can live financially comfortable in our elder years. To me, the stages are, youth, your youth years, your adult years, your marriage years, and then your elder years. And the big part is if you can focus on retirement early in your career, then that'll set the pace for you in your later parts of your career. So
yeah. And even goals too in general, in your life, like having overall and setting goals and setting intentions for your life just helps you to stay focused and have a clear path of how you want to go about getting the things you want accomplished in your life. So,
right.
And that's also, goals are also very motivating in helping us to move forward with the feeling of purpose. And that's especially important in something like with a relationship. When you're moving and setting goals or moving in a relationship, you definitely want to feel like you have a purpose for doing this. Whatever your purpose for getting married is or being with this person, establish that and then work towards goals that could help you further build on that purpose. So, yep.
And then number two, practice self-control.
Mm-hmm.
You try to work on maturity. You can't be that kid in the candy shop. wanting to try and sample everything.
Yeah, or even still just the self-control aspect of controlling your emotions.
Right.
It's really easy when
That is,
something triggers you to just fly off the handle and argue or fuss or, feel the need to act out, I guess, in a way. So, but really just being able to have self-control really helps you to, I guess, just be able to analyze the whole situation and see things kind of with a more clear head versus if you just allow your emotions to just sweep in and take over.
That was my thing about the kid in the candy shop, because I know if I put my kids in the candy shop, they have no self-control. They're gonna be touching and grabbing everything, all the colors and the smells and all that stuff is overstimulating. So what it is that you're grounding yourself. So you want to ground yourself in your emotions. So
and it can be hard sometimes to actually learn to analyze and evaluate your behaviors and what you do and how you respond. But that's, it's really important to do because it's transformative for your growth and your overall productivity with who you want to be and accomplishing your goals, like we talked about on the first one.
Right.
So.
And then number 3, stay persistent. So once you establish your goals, and then you've practiced self-control, I would say stay persistent. And to become mature and responsible takes commitment and persistence. So stay in that rhythm of those having self-control and setting goals and achieving your goals. Embrace personal growth will help give you the motivation you need to work hard and chase your goals. So don't focus on failures no more than you use them as a learning tool. So failures too are important to focus on as well, because those are important ways that we can improve ourselves. And it takes very mature people to actually review failures and take them as a learning lesson. That's the risk management aspect that I was talking about, and I always preach it every night, is that you learn from your failures, because what it does, it helps you overall minimize risks. Now, you'll be a fool if you keep making these mistakes over and over again. And then, to be honest with you, if you want me to give an example, is those serial baby mamas and those serial baby daddies and those people, those Pookies and Ray Rays out there who are, constantly like the kid in the candy shop. They see these women and they take advantage of them, and then you have children with them. I'm not going to say necessarily take advantage of them, because it takes 2 people to create children, but there is a lack of responsibility and in those relationships, and there's multiple failures that are often not considered by the men and the women in those relationships. So don't be a Delta personality type where you're placing blame on someone else, because in those situations the blame goes on you. So don't let that happen to you, and stay persistent in trying to improve and learning from your failures, because overall what it will do, it will get you past your trials and tribulations that you're going through in that current situation, and it will allow you to have and formulate a path moving forward. So don't get stuck in the rut of, this is my environment and this is what I'm in and this is all I had. That isn't good enough, because every day you can do something to improve. You remember we laid down those personality types. Find people that mentor you. Find other people out there who can give you a better outlook on life and provide you with some better advice in dealing with what you're going through. Those personality types, recognize which one you are, and see areas of improvement in that way.
And also too, with staying persistent, is even when you are working on a goal, and if you mess up, like say in a relationship you have done something that you said you weren't going to do, maybe acted out in a way you said you weren't going to act out or whatever, just staying persistent in, okay, I messed up, acknowledging that you made the mistake again, but then keep trying to make it better and not do the same thing again. So definitely trying to improve in every aspect of yourself persistently, relationship Like my husband say, all love it around. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And number 4, respect other people's opinions.
Hmm.
Now that's important too because um, people have different point of views about things, and especially for the single people out there when you're courting and dating, and someone we all come from different backgrounds, so different people's religion, your religion, different ways that you dress or how your appearance and things like that. Just be respectable about those different topics, and respecting the beliefs and viewpoints of others without judgment is a sign that you are understanding. And even in our marriage relationships, people people often at times disrespect each other, arguing and fighting, especially in public. you know don't argue in public. That is a sign of disrespecting your whole relationship. you know um
Becoming that couple.
right, don't do that. Don't be toxic in that type of way, but disrespect allowing your loved one to speak, finish their sentences, so that shows that the other person, that gives the other person a sign that you're being understanding to them. That gives them that sign of respect. It lets them know that you respect them. So men, don't, while if you're in an argument or communicating, don't cut your wife off while she's talking to you. And women vice versa, especially, you hear about these loud women. Women are loud when they argue and things like that. um you don't have to, get into a shouting match or a yelling match. It's all about communication and talking, and moving to a resolve of the issue that you all are trying to work through. So respect other people's opinions, allow each other to talk, stop cutting people off when you all are arguing, and then seek for understanding. you know it's not good to, you know try to dominate conversations, or either just ignore others because of their beliefs and what their opinions are. Respect people's opinions, even your spouse or whoever you're dealing with. Respect their opinion, because they are an individual as well. Now, you don't always have to. You can agree to disagree. That's one of the biggest things that I do, is I agree to disagree, and it's okay. It's okay to agree and disagree. That's just a sign of maturity and a sign of respect. When your spouse or your husband has a different point of view on things, okay, that's fine. And if you all can't agree on it, that's fine too. At the end of the day, you're still going to be together, and then move forward past the situation. It's only a small blip in the whole timeline of your life. It's not a deal breaker to argue over um, who's putting the shoes on the kids' feet, or who cleaned the table up, or small things. You don't have to do all that. Just respect each other, allow each other to get their points across, and then seek for understanding, and then move to resolve. That's it. So even if you don't agree with someone's opinion, give them the courtesy to hear them out. Like I was saying, that shows that you are mature and open-minded.
Yeah.
And then number 5, build self-confidence. It takes a strong sense of self-confidence to manage all of the moving parts up to a successful life. Um, we talked about those personality types yesterday, and you can choose after reviewing which one that you are. And if you find that you need some sort of self-confidence, I had also stated some good ways that you can improve your life as far as confidence go. So building self-confidence in yourself hopefully will also build self-confidence in your spouse, and then ultimately allow you all to be comfortable in your relationship. Confidence is fun in a relationship. You all can be, that allows you to communicate better. It allows you all to express how you all feel. Confidence in a relationship also allows you all to explore each other better and understand where what each other are saying, and then allows you to get your points across with, and then also if you practice respect, like I had mentioned previously. So
Yeah, and if I may,
go ahead.
confidence, too. You need confidence in order to, I think, love anybody else, because you can't really love anybody else unless you love yourself, so that you can, really give that love that you actually feel within yourself. So I think it's important not only for your relationship, but even just for your self-esteem, to really take the time to build that self-confidence. So like my husband was saying, whether that is going out and doing things that's outside of your comfort zone, or
Hmm.
even some things like, I think yesterday one of the things you mentioned was the impromptu.
Improv, yeah.
Yeah, little things like that, just things that help you to really love who you are, so that then you can open the way for your husband or wife to love you too. So
Right, most definitely. um
yeah.
and then also too building confidence. You raise your kids with confidence, so that ultimately what will happen is that your kids will learn confidence from the examples that you're leading. I know my boys and my daughter, they learn confidence by things that me and my wife do around the house. If we're outdoors, we fix things. We go out there and we fix things, and ultimately what we do is we notice our children, they learn confidence from us, and they also want to join in too.
Yeah.
So confidence is a great way to communicate. It encourages others to communicate with us.
And if you're an individual and you're not married or in a relationship yet, that confidence will give you the perk to get up out of there and, meet people and
Right.
not
Yep.
be comfortable where you're at, and explore other opportunities and situations that can get you, like we said, out of your comfort zone, and possibly meet some great people, and
Right.
hopefully a husband or wife.
Right. Most definitely.
Yeah.
And then number 6, take ownership. So instead of taking responsibility, many people look for other people to place blame on their circumstances. That's the Delta type mentality. Recognizing failure as an opportunity to learn and grow will give you the right attitude and will teach you how to be a stronger person. Accountability. I was talking about this before. We don't, a lot of people don't like to take accountability for their failures. And modest people don't take accountability for their successes, but you can see it on their face. But yeah, accountability will and taking ownership is a mature way, especially if you're in an argument and you know you're wrong. And admitting, one of the hardest things is to admit that you are wrong and then apologizing.
Yeah.
A great way to admit you're wrong and to apologize is to calm yourself down and to say it slowly. It really does help, because it calms those nerves, that we don't want to admit that we're wrong in situations, or take ownership in bad situations. But if you can calm yourself down, breathe, think about what you're about to say, and then say it, that'll be a great way to take ownership. If you've did something wrong in your relationship, and then work on building trust after that.
And as a single person, you need to be accountable for yourself. So, recognizing your triggers, knowing what your triggers are, knowing things, how you can improve, knowing when you probably are the problem, or maybe not even the problem,
Right.
and just in general, being able to recognize yourself and things that you may be bringing to the table or the relationship, that don't need to be brought. So,
Right, and I like that you said that, because that made me think of I know we beat this up a lot. If you're suffering from traumatic situations, a way that you can take ownership is to get therapy. Get good therapy from a good therapist. Talk about your problems, and then because everybody we all have issues. Before, the worst thing you can do is bring your issues into a new relationship. I say that a lot. And you don't want to bring your problems into a marriage, someone with someone that you dated with intentions and ultimately going to marry. So hopefully you can figure out those issues, and then take ownership of your issues, and don't place blame on anyone else, but also to learn from those, learn from your issues, grow stronger, and then mature from those issues. Because you don't have to, like my wife, we talking about therapy. You don't stay, the idea is not to stay in therapy forever, but to graduate from it, learn from it, mature from it, grow, so that you are right in your marriage fit for someone else. So
Yeah. Marriage Fit Fridays.
yeah.
Our YouTube viewers, don't be shy. Call in, click the link. Let us know why you are marriage fit, the things that you have done to help yourself become marriage fit, or even the things that you know you need to do in order to get marriage fit.
Most
We
definitely.
all have been there. We're on this journey with you. We're excited for the dialogue and just to have the conversation within our community and to create a safe space that actually will unite men and women in love. So the link is in the description, the YouTube description. So you can be on or off camera, whatever it's more comfortable for you.
Or you can hit us up in the chat box, or either also to submit a question in the on the Blueprint Family Jewels. I mean, not Blueprint Family Jewels. I'm sorry, the Wifeconomics website. My wife also has developed a great course for women to gain wife skills, and then also to improve their life skills as well through self-help materials. So if you are wanting to submit a question, we can read those on our show.
Yeah, and give you a live answer. That's solution focused.
Right.
And also with love in mind, for sure. So
right, most definitely.
But for now, we can continue on with our topic until we do get some calls, which is maturity in marriage. So
right.
What's some more things we can do to help us become more mature, babe?
Number 7, listen more. So become a good listener by far. If it's one thing that I've learned through this process of marriage is becoming a good listener. That is a hard thing for me. That was a hard thing for me. So active listening. I've learned that in my career, and then also too in my relationship with my wife, is finding out what is a good listener. You know, my wife often reminded me that don't look to respond so quickly after listening or show interest. Actually, keep eye contact being clear and present with someone. Let them know that you're talking with them. Be square with them. So stand shoulder to shoulder with them, look them in the eyes, and talk with them after they've gotten their point across, regardless of rants. The rants, you got to get past the rant first. Be actively listening through the rant. Listen to the rant. And ultimately what it does, it shows that level of respect that I spoke about before. But a good listener is a very mature sign that you actively that you show interest and understand what your spouse is talking about, and then also too that you're looking to resolve these issues or what's going on.
Or just gain information. You can't really respond to a situation without hearing the situation and gaining clear understanding so that you can then respond with appropriate response. Sometimes if you are, and kind of I guess what you're thinking about is when I say when a person is talking, try not to think of a response in your head while that person is talking, because your mind is literally focused on trying to respond versus actually listening to what the person says. And you could pretty much miss what the person's trying to say if you're not, zoned in on what the person is saying. So it takes practice, though. Listening, people I don't really think is a big part of communication, but in fact, it might just be more important than talking sometimes, because just listening, you can gain so much from it.
Listening is very important because the other person feels respected in the conversation, and then also too it allows that other person to feel included. So it's not all about dominating the discussion or the conversation or the argument. It's the focus of trying to resolve it. So if you're good at listening, then you can help your spouse to help them resolve. You all both can resolve the situation faster by being good listeners.
Yeah, and one more thing before, sorry to cut you off, but be appreciative when your spouse is listening. Sometimes, in particular, men, like my husband, he was talking about women when we rant. Women, if we do rant, be appreciative to the fact that your husband is sitting there and listening to you, because even sometimes you're ranting about maybe something at work that got you upset, or anything else within your daily life that may have gotten you upset, and you just want to get it off of your chest. You will really feel appreciative to your husband or your wife for listening to you during that time. And that alone, even if they don't say anything, that just silent support can really help. So, yeah. Yep.
And then number 8, avoid negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Avoiding negativity. So negativity creates a range of emotions that are not going to help you grow.
Mm-hmm.
Mature and responsible people usually err on the side of positivity.
Yeah.
Positivity will help you get through difficult situations, overcome the obstacles life is bound to throw at you. So be an optimist, not a pessimist. Often at times when I'm tired, I think I'm a pessimist.
I think we all
Um,
can be.
yeah,
Yeah.
I look at my children; they're they're pessimistic
Yeah.
when they're sleepy. You know,
Yeah. Or hangry when you're hungry.
right? Or when you're hungry,
Yeah.
so you have to control those. What we talk about controlling your
That's
emotion,
self-control.
self
Yeah.
control, having that self control. So, but I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, all that goes out the window when you're hungry and sleepy. But but the thing is try to be positive. You know,
Yeah.
um, what they're saying is that it's easier to attract flies with honey than it is with vinegar.
Mhm.
So, be positive about outcomes. Be positive about resolving your situations or your arguments. Don't cut. You may catch yourself being negative in arguments. Don't name call people. Don't generalize. Don't make assumptions when it comes to arguments. Be positive about the outcome and the outlook. Say that I know that we can get through this, even though
Mhm.
this occurs every month or on schedule. This occurs once in a while. I know that we can get through this. I really do.
Mhm.
This is just having a hard time right now. I'm seeking to understand you, but ultimately we're going to get through this one way or another. You know, that type of reinforcement and that type of language gets through to your spouse and lets them know that, hey, you're willing to work on this. We're willing to get this done right.
Mhm.
And you may not always get this done right the first time, but you stay positive on that goal of moving forward and working out whatever the issue is through
Yeah.
positivity, not negativity. Negativity only holds you back.
Yeah.
Miserable people only gather miserable people around them.
Mhm.
But once someone positive breaks away from that group, they're gone.
Mhm.
That's where you get those divorce situations and separations and things like that. People can be negative in relationships, but when somebody starts being more positive and wants to do better for themselves, they're gone. So don't be that negative Nancy or the equivalent of the opposite of the Nancy for the men or whatever
Yeah.
that is. I don't know what that is, but
Negative Nathan.
Nathan, yeah,
I
whatever.
don't know.
There you go. Don't do that. Be positive
Yeah.
about outcomes in relationships, and avoid being negative
Yeah.
because
Because yeah.
you'll get along a lot farther. Trust me.
Yeah. And also too, you're able to recognize the opportunities that probably would not be available for you to see if you were so focused on the negative. So oftentimes, if we're positive about something, we could then see something in a different light that could create a solution and actually make the situation so much better that you probably might not have seen had you focus just on the negative, because what they say, you can't solve a problem from the same vibration that it was created on. So if you remain in that negative situation, all it's going to do is keep breeding more negative things as a result. But if you can elevate slightly above to the thought of, like my husband was saying, this is all right, it'll work out, we can get through it, then you have actually stepped into the realm of discovering the solution, because you have stepped above the problem where you're at.
Right.
One more helpful thing, like you had mentioned with saying I am, that's really helpful when it comes to arguments. Instead of pointing out you did this or you try to formulate your statements in the form of I think, I feel, whatever, just I, more so I. So then that person feels, your spouse, whether your husband or wife, or your relationship, will feel less attacked. And more so, you will feel like you're speaking for yourself too.
Right. No matter how much we want to, um, win an argument, arguments are not for winning. They're not. It's for a tie. You both want to tie the argument so that you both can learn from it. You both want to win,
Yeah.
together in the argument. It's not a one up thing,
Yeah.
because once you start tallying up those one ups, somebody's gonna start harboring resentment in the relationship. Now, there's nothing wrong with basing arguments on facts. Don't get me wrong. If there are factual things that's going on in your relationship and you want to bring them up with your spouse, and those are things that are causing the arguments or distrust in the relationship, yeah, by all means, please, stick to the facts. But those are the things that you want to focus on, not negative, unfactual things or
Mhm.
negative, this negativity in general.
Even about yourself, maybe you're single and you're not in a relationship, just the thought of being negative of, or oh, no one will love me or something like that,
Yeah,
just harboring
yeah.
those negative thoughts within
I
yourself
mean,
too.
right. And to take it further, the negative, a lot of, I've seen this in very like shows on that we watch on TV, is that people often at times count themselves out in relationships before they even get to marriage.
Mhm.
They say that what is it that like women, some women think that all I'm gonna end, it's going to end in divorce anyway.
Mhm.
They operate in the mindset of lack and
Fear.
and
Yeah.
fear. Take that lack and that fear out of your relationship or your out of your thoughts, and I bet you're going to replace that with happiness and positivity and enjoyment. You're going to actually enjoy. It was a book that I read, I think, As a Man Thinketh, and it stated that woman a woman needs to lose the thought of fear when it comes to a relationship, because ultimately if she doesn't, she will lose her man.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
those thoughts of fear will actually, those thoughts of fear and negativity will actually tear your relationship apart. So men and women, be mindful of your thoughts in your relationship, because those things will manifest
Mhm.
into your relationship
Yeah, your inner
somehow.
reality creates your outer reality. Something that we preach a lot with our kids, but we can apply that everywhere in life. The things you hold within ultimately will manifest. But they say all impulses of thought have tend to appear within some material form.
Right.
So however you tend to think, if you tend to think negatively all the time, then you're more likely to attract those. We've all heard that. So that's true to live by for sure. And nobody likes a pessimistic person. Like you said, you're certainly not going to get you a man or a woman being negative all the time. Like that's
Right.
just, it's not going to happen. So,
Right.
yeah.
Man, most definitely. And then number 9, make sacrifices.
Yeah.
Sacrifices. Make sacrifice. It's going to happen anyway. So you, in a relationship, if you don't if you don't decide that you're going to make sacrifices in a relationship, being in a relationship ultimately is a sacrifice. Everything in a relationship is a sacrifice. Your time, your money, your food, your everything, your gas for your car,
You're just
everything.
sharing it.
Yeah, you're sharing everything. So you're sacrificing everything. Let alone if you have children, um, all of your time is gone to your children throughout the day. I don't know how many of you all are parents and you all work from home, but even if you're working from home, often at times you may see that you're still and if your children are at home, if you have little children, you're spending still a lot of time with them. So making sacrifices is a sign of maturity, and
Mhm.
um it's being responsible enough to make sacrifices for the good of others, for the future, uh, or for the future without resentment or any resentment. Responsible people understand that sometimes gratification needs to be delayed now in order to attain a future outcome. A good example of that, and I said that before, dealing with younger men who are out, their lower 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, and even some of the upper 20s. Delayed gratification on jumping into a marriage ultimately will set you up to be in a great place when you actually do get married. You'll be ready for a house, a home, um, and you'll provide a place for a wife and children ultimately. So delayed gratification will set you up for a great outcome. I'm a firm believer in that. I've seen it happen. If you work on yourself first, you make sacrifices. Sacrifice on those relationships in the early parts of your life when you know you're not all well together. When you don't have it all together, it's not fair for you to start a relationship and try to marry somebody,
Mhm.
because ultimately you're setting yourself up. I'm not going to say that you're going to fail, but what it is that it's harder. It is a whole lot harder trying to, buy a house, put furniture in that house when you don't have any credit, and
Or cash.
or cash, and you don't make enough money. So what you want to do, young men, work on your careers. The longer you stay in your careers, and then you know how to elevate, move up. You don't necessarily have to stay at one job, but there are ways to make more money than what you're actually making, and that comes along with age. Trust me,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to professional careers. There's a lot of opportunities out here. So if you can make sacrifices by delaying gratification of wanting marriage, you ultimately will set it up so that your marriage can last a lifetime. And there's no way that um, your spouse can say anything. Your newlywed spouse can say anything about being unhappy because you're not being a provider. So delay that gratification because you really don't want any excuses about that. As far as being a provider in your relationship.
Yeah, and sacrificing in general, I think, teaches you, or setting yourself up to do that before you enter the marriage, just really helps you to be selfless, and understand the service part of really life in general, and that really life isn't all about you. So that steps you into the element of being mature and that understanding that the world doesn't revolve
Right,
around
right.
me. Because not being in that leaves you in that lower immaturity of thinking that it does. And then, yeah, you're definitely not pretty much ready for a relationship any more than marriage, because one thing that I teach a lot within the wife economics course is that being a wife is a service-based job. It's really about service and giving nonstop to your husband, to your kids, and eventually to your community if you're able to really step into that role. So
Right, well said. I spoke on the male part of it, the female part. Yes, sacrifice. Women, getting into a marriage is a big sacrifice for those modern women, especially those ones who have all the free time in the world that they felt they did have, especially when it comes to raising children.
mhm.
You know, shedding that immature lifestyle of always partying on the weekends, going out with your girlfriends, all of that pretty much slows down. So you have to make sacrifices depending on how your husband feels about it.
Mhm.
But to be honest with you, especially when you start having children, start raising children, all of that is sacrificed for the greater good of building a good foundation for your children.
Mhm.
So this should not come as a surprise to women when they get into marriages. You marry someone to build a family, hopefully. And the outcome of that is, raising your children. So please be serious, be mature about the sacrifices that and envision the sacrifices that you're going to make before you actually get there, so that you're better set in the mind to take up those challenges
Mhm.
of raising children, and like my wife said, supporting a husband,
Mhm.
and just moving forward in a marriage. Like my wife said, her wifeconomics.com website is a great place to learn more about the duties of a wife before you actually become a wife in a marriage. So
To really equip women with an idea of what you're getting into so that sacrifices don't feel as daunting,
right,
because not knowing something before you getting involved can really scare you away from the whole idea once you're in it and you're just immersed in, and I'm not saying marriage is scary or anything like that, but sometimes when you're immersed in the day-to-day life that um, and the maturity that is required to have a successful marriage, it can be kind of daunting to where you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm really up for this. But if you can take the time to really understand your duties and what you're meant to have to do during this time, and maybe the sacrifices you'll have to make, and then even being okay with that and not even looking at them as sacrifices, but as ways of giving. A lot of the things where I think maybe I might be taking away from myself, I'm giving to my children, I'm giving to my husband. So in a way, it creates more fulfillment for myself as well, because I love being that source for my family. So yeah, sacrifices don't always mean that, it's you're losing something and never getting anything from it either. So
Right. In a relationship is reciprocated. So it should be reciprocated. So you giving up something, your time, um, you cooking food for your family,
yeah.
um, you're helping your children, you're supporting your husband, and it all comes back to you. Especially one, he's being the husband is your provider and protector. You don't have to worry about being homeless, things like that. Your children are enjoyable. They're loving. They love you. You have a source of love and responsibility. So it gives you a sense of purpose,
Yeah.
you know.
And sometimes that doesn't mean too that just to go back when you said that the man is the provider too. Sometimes as a woman, you may have to sacrifice to work outside of the home if you are not in the position yet to work within your home. So that may require
Right.
that I may have to sacrifice in this moment in time in my relationship to, work outside of the home to better the family.
Right.
I'm a stay-at-home mom and wife now, but I was not always one. So understanding those moments where you may have to sacrifice things that you not necessarily want to do or work that job. Who wants to work at McDonald's, but you understand that it's only a period in time, so I'm sacrificing that delayed gratification because I know it's going to pay off in the end, which it really does.
Right.
So it creates discipline too.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrificing is really good for that discipline in sticking with something and understanding that it's okay to not be rewarded right away, like getting up to go into that gym or not eating that jelly donut, sacrificing that craving that you have for the sake of your beach bod.
Right.
So yeah.
And then number 10, this last one, give back. Giving back is the ultimate sign of maturity.
Mm-hmm.
When you give back your time, knowledge, or effort to other people, it shows that you've reached a place where you can afford to shift your focus from yourself onto others.
Yeah.
This is our show. So we want to give back, and we're dropping jewels to people so that we can elevate each other to help form healthier relationships. And ultimately, what we'd like for people to do is the same. To be honest with you, we need more of this dialogue in our community. We need to see more of this union of good men and women coming together to form communities. And giving back by far is one of the most selfless things that you can do, to show anyone that you care. And that is my challenge to everyone out there who watches this video, is to give back some way, somehow, to someone. If it's whether it's donating money, donating your time. To me, time is worth more than money. Donating your time to somebody, some child, become a big brother, big sister, somewhere in your community, for some child somewhere. Um, just giving your time, or just you're giving back by helping someone out, if they have an issue or a problem, just being a neighbor to somebody, just give back, being nice and kind to people by far is a great way to show a level of maturity.
Because you again rise above that selfishness.
Right. Yep. It's not about, this world is not about us. It's all about relationships. It's all about people, each other. We like to think that we're the center of this universe, but we're not. So with that being said, like I said, it is Marriage Fit Friday, and we wanted to give you examples and ways in which you can become more marriage fit.
Yeah. Every Friday, different stuff.
Yep, those were 10. Were 10 ways that you could become more mature, become more marriage fit, and ways that you can set yourself up to be a good spouse to someone, if anything, a good friend to someone. And then you can show people that you are able to operate in a mature level, especially in relationships.
Yeah, maturity, that's a huge one.
Yep, that is a big one, maturity, because a lot of folks, we've stated those statistics before in the past, was around 48% of children grow up in single families, and 88% of those single families, are the children are raised by women. So a woman can only teach a boy how to be a boy, but not a man. So hopefully that these 10 principles we can give, I'm putting this out here for the men so that you all can learn from these and mature. My wife gave you some great examples, women, on how you can shed selfishness and understand that you don't have to go into a relationship with the thought of lack and what's the last one? I always forget.
Fear.
And fear. That's the
Yeah.
biggest one too. You don't have to go into a relationship with lack and fear and negativity, because those things only hold you back from the ultimate goal of a successful marriage. Yeah. And when go ahead.
Maturity ultimately means recognizing that we all go through our things. We all have our issues, but how can I effectively evolve and move forward past these?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to quick recap, I'm gonna run through them real quick, just so y'all know. Top 10 things that you can do to become more mature: set goals, practice self-control, stay persistent, respect other people's opinions, build self-confidence, take ownership, listen more, avoid negativity, make sacrifices, and give back. Yeah.
So I guess that's it. That's a night show. We really appreciate you all for viewing tonight. Thank you all. We see our numbers are slowly growing.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that. And then also too, please support my wife's Wifeconomics website as well. Women out there, you no longer have to go in the dark alone and try to figure this marriage thing out before you get into marriage. She set up a great, wonderful course for you all to get self-help, and then also too guided information on how to be a wife, and great details giving tips on successful marriages.
Yeah, because we're in this journey together. So I want to succeed just as much as you. So I'm going to equip you just as much as I want to be equipped myself. Right. That's the cool thing about really doing this that I really like, is that the very things that we talk about with you guys benefit us as well. I feel like we can take everything that we give to y'all and apply them within our marriages to help us grow as people. So it's really cool because we're staying on track, and we're going to help you guys stay on track too.
Most definitely. But before I go, I wanted to say, please hit like and subscribe if you have not done so. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
And see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.